Tonight, a little girl carries a sign pleading for help. 3 police officers follow her home, and what they discover inside changes everything. It started like any other day in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The sun was shining, birds chirped, children laughed on their way to school, and neighbors exchanged pleasantries as they tended to their lawns. But beneath the surface of this peaceful setting, something far more serious was unfolding. 3 police officers sat parked in an unmarked car just a few blocks from an elementary school, their eyes fixed on a small child walking out of the school gates. She was young, no older than 8, her tiny frame swallowed by an oversized backpack. To a passerby, she looked like any other child returning home from school, but the officers knew better. They had seen something earlier that day that led them here, something that made them believe this little girl needed help. It had all started that morning when Officer Daniel Hayes, taking a quick break at the precinct, scrolled through his phone and came across a video that had gone viral overnight. In the grainy footage, a little girl stood outside her school, holding up a cardboard sign that read, "Please help my family." She was visibly nervous, shifting her weight as if unsure whether she should even be there. But when she spoke, her voice was clear and full of desperation. "My mommy is sick, and we don't have food. If you can help, please help." Officer Hayes watched the video twice. There was something about the girl's bravery and the urgency in her voice that tugged at him. Without hesitation, he forwarded the clip to 2 of his closest colleagues, Officers Maria Lopez and Jordan Carter, with a simple message: "We need to find her." By the time their shift ended, the 3 officers had already positioned themselves outside the school waiting for dismissal. They had no name, no address, just a brief clip and a gut feeling that this child was in need. The moment the school bell rang, children flooded out, some running into the arms of their waiting parents, others chatting excitedly with friends. But among them, they spotted her. She was easy to recognize. The same pigtails, the same timid smile. But what stood out most was that she was alone. While other children laughed and ran toward waiting parents, she clutched her tattered backpack as if it were a lifeline. The officers exchanged glances. Without a word, they started following her from a discreet distance. The walk was longer than they anticipated. At first, she moved through neatly paved streets lined with well-kept houses and lush green lawns. But as she walked further, the scenery changed. Pristine homes gave way to crumbling buildings, graffiti-covered walls replaced white picket fences. She crossed a busy road, carefully navigating her way through traffic before disappearing into a neighborhood that had seen better days. Finally, she stopped in front of a rundown apartment complex. The officers watched as she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, rusted key, struggling to unlock the front door. As she pushed it open, she hesitated for a moment, glancing over her shoulder before stepping inside. Officer Hayes turned to Maria and Jordan. "We can't just leave," he said, his voice firm. Maria nodded in agreement. "Let's see what's going on." Stepping out of their car, the 3 officers cautiously approached the building. The hallway was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of mildew. The paint on the walls was peeling, the carpet worn down to the floorboards. They followed the girl up a narrow staircase to the 2nd floor, where she stood on her tiptoes, trying to fit the key into the lock. When she saw them, her eyes widened in panic. "I didn't steal anything, I promise," she blurted out, clutching her backpack tightly. Her voice trembled with fear. Officer Hayes crouched down, raising his hands in a calming gesture. Hey, it's okay. We're not here to get you in trouble," he said gently. "We saw your video. We just want to make sure you're all right." Her lips quivered, but she didn't run. Instead, she pushed the door open and stepped aside, gesturing for them to enter. "You can see for yourself," she whispered. Inside, the apartment was cold and dark. The furniture was sparse: an old couch, a table missing a leg, a single mattress in the corner. The walls were bare, the room silent except for the sound of shallow breathing. In the dim light, the officers saw a woman lying on the mattress, motionless. Their hands instinctively moved to their radios, but before they could say anything, the little girl spoke again. "That's my mommy," she said softly. "She's not dead, she's just tired." Maria knelt beside the woman, checking for signs of life. After a moment, the mother stirred, her eyes fluttering open weakly. "Please don't take her away," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Jordan stepped toward the kitchen and immediately felt his stomach turn. The cupboards were empty. The fridge, when he opened it, contained nothing but a half-empty bottle of water. On the table, a pile of unpaid bills lay scattered, some marked "Final Notice." The little girl stood in the doorway, her voice trembling. "She got sick after Daddy left. I tried to help, but..." She trailed off, tears welling in her eyes. "I just want her to get better." Officer Hayes felt a lump in his throat. He had seen tough situations before: poverty, illness, broken families. But something about this little girl's courage hit him harder than anything else. He glanced at his colleagues. They felt it too. They stayed with the family for hours that evening. Maria called an ambulance to take the mother to the hospital for much-needed treatment. Jordan made a quick trip to a nearby grocery store, returning with bags of food. Hayes sat with the little girl, listening as she talked about school, her favorite books, her dreams of becoming a doctor someday. When the paramedics arrived, the girl clung to her mother, crying. "Don't take her away. I'll be good. I'll do better," she pleaded. Maria hugged her tightly. "Sweetheart, your mom needs to get better. We'll make sure you're taken care of while she does, okay?" The girl hesitated before nodding, wiping her tears. But the officers didn't stop there. They worked behind the scenes to connect the family with resources: a local shelter, social workers, a community food bank. They even started a fundraiser to help cover medical bills and rent. Weeks later, when the mother was discharged from the hospital, she returned to a stocked apartment and a support network she never imagined possible. She couldn't believe it when she saw the 3 officers waiting at her door with smiles and hugs. But what truly broke them was when the little girl handed them a crumpled piece of paper. It was a drawing of 3 stick-figure police officers holding hands with her and her mom. Above it, she had written in shaky letters, "My heroes." And that's when they cried. Because in a world often divided by fear, anger, and prejudice, they had found something extraordinary. A reminder of why they became officers in the first place: to protect, to serve, but most importantly, to care. What do you think of this incredible story? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe in the power of compassion and community, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest stories.